Industrial policy has two roles to play in industrial decarbonization. One is that we meet the targets in a timely manner. And the second, an extremely important aspect, is that industrial policy can make sure that the way we green our economies also deliver socioeconomic benefits for everyone. My name is Amir Lebdioui. I'm the director of the Tide Center at the University of Oxford. There are both successes and failures from the past that we need to learn from to design modern industrial policies today. One is the key role of state capacity to be able to have the vision, not only on the design capabilities, but also the implementation capabilities to see this to completion. In many ways, industrial policy historically has followed a balling approach. And I would argue that we need more of a curling approach in which you don't just throw the objective, we don't just throw the ball and hoping that it meets the target down the line, but we need mechanisms to be able to adapt and adjust industrial strategies based on market uncertainties, technological disruptions, regulatory changes. China has completely eliminated its Ministry of Energy because they realized that energy is a cross-cutting ministerial issue, right? So instead they have a National Energy Commission. The Malaysians have an economic planning unit whose role is to follow up with individual actors within government and outside to make sure that they're following the plan and they're adapting the plan accordingly. There are many steps that governments have to take, and in fact, we need to realize that green industrial policy is not a static field. It has to change, it has to adapt. In my book, Survival of the Greenest, I argue that most of the green industrial policies that we've seen in recent years have not been motivated by ecological goals, but first and foremost by trade interests. I would much rather see a green subsidy war than a tariff war, right? Because if you're competing just on subsidizing things, you're making things cheaper for people. Of course, that excludes governments in developing nations that might not be able to afford as many subsidies. But in the grand scheme of things, right, it's really about making some of those goods cheaper to adopt. In principle, environmental regulations can play a really important role in creating demand for particular products where they might not be scaled yet, right, which might not be cost competitive, and create, right, those productivity gains to reach cost competitiveness. In practice, environmental regulations are unfortunately very often used as a trade protectionist tool. I think we have unrealistic expectations of the amount of successes you need to have with industrial policy. There is a kind of expectation that you need to get it right every single time. And sometimes, actually very often, perfect is the enemy of good. So when it comes to a green transition, there is a tendency to want it all to happen very quickly and right away. And governments that try to pursue this type of strategies often fail because they have to deliver to their constituencies. The academic groups that work on green transitions often tend to remain in silos, right? Or speak to audiences that are already convinced, right? Which leads to sort of echo chamber dynamics. But I think what is interesting about this event is trying to talk to the other side. And this way we can find common denominators from where we can think of green industrial strategies that will gather a broader coalitions. The most realistic solution will not bypass those actors, but will be about understanding their incentives and realigning them with what a green industrial strategy entails.